It's Backstage Pass with Steve Ryan. And here's your host, Steve Ryan.
Hey, Tiffany.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. Let me clean my screen for a second. Well,
Yeah.
foggy. There we go. Good.
Hey, it's good to see you.
Good to see you.
Heather had sent me some information on you, and I haven't done a lot of country music on my podcast for some reason. I've done Exile and Pure Prairie League and country rock stuff, but no real true country. I mean, Exile is true country, but they started out as a pop band. But when she sent me your information, and I spent some time, especially with the single American Dreamer, there was just something about that song that I just had to talk to you.
Thank you. That really means something to me. That's really what I wanted for that song because I was just sorry, my cat might jump in every once in a while. The message of this song and this song was so much bigger than me. Like it wasn't even about about Tiffany Woys singing it. It was just about that this is a message that I really wanted to be heard. Oh my gosh. Wanting to be heard and out there. And I've been really wanting to do it for a long time, but I guess in this industry, right? Like there's a lot of scariness when it comes attached to that. And I realized I was going to put my faith over fear with this.
Yeah.
And because there was nothing in my song that could even be explained as controversial. So I just went with my gut. And, there was a lot of people in radio that who have always supported me. And they said, hey, sorry, we can't play this song. And I thought that was so telling of where we are as a country that scared me a little bit, that we can't even like that's crazy.
Yeah. It shouldn't be controversial to feel patriotic about your country.
No, again, this wasn't talking about policies or
Right.
or even like I even said in my statement that I released to everybody before I released the song was this song is not red or blue, it's red, white, and blue.
I believe we're a little more same, but we are different. I believe just a little more grace will do us good. I believe there's no place better than the place we're living. So I believe old glory should fly in every neighborhood. This is still the land of the free. Sometimes I wonder why we keep trying to tear it apart. We're only breaking our heart. While it's still mine and still yours, it's still worth standing up for. I'm still one nation under God the leader, American dreamer. I believe in
Well, I love it, Tiffany.
Thank you.
It's so good. Tell me a little bit about you. I had read you've been singing basically your whole life.
My whole life, yeah, and it actually started with the national anthem of all things. I was about 4 years old or 5 when I heard like the first like version of it, and it was Leanne Rimes singing it,
Yeah.
and when she was a kid, and I fell in love with it, and I just started singing it everywhere I went. But I'm from Sacramento, California, and my parents really weren't large country music listeners. My dad was like a fan of like Rod Stewart. My mom was a big fan of or Neil Diamond. My mom was a huge fan of Celine Dion, Michael Bolton. So those were the music that I was raised listening to. And it was like probably around age 10 or so that my mom would start listening to like Faith Hill, Martina McBride, Trisha Yearwood. So then that really kind of introduced me into country music. But Celine Dion will probably always be my number one inspiration when it comes to music, just because of her work ethic, her insane talent. I think I've seen her now about 10 times live. And I'm so glad I have as many times because I'm not sure she'll ever have the ability or the career to do what she did before. So I'm very blessed that I was like given the opportunity to see her as many times as I did, because she is really like every time I'm feeling kind of like, about this, I go, gosh, that woman still works hard and she doesn't even have to.
Right.
Yeah.
The I'm Your Woman EP is a very personal project for you, wasn't it?
Very personal project for me. So I went through a horrific breakup. So I was engaged and he called it off 6 weeks before the wedding. So from there, I kind of used that project, like music. I jumped back into music because I was ready to be a wife, a mom, all of those things that I was just so ready for that next chapter of life. And I was very at peace with the idea that if music ended up taking a back seat at some point, I was going to be okay with that. I'd really come to the conclusion that like I've given it so much go here and I've had experienced so much good things, but I just think maybe it's ready to turn the page. And when I went through this, I go, okay, well, what do I have left? And what I always have and what I always will have is music. And so I really did turn to music and to writing for the first time. I wrote, almost that entire project. And that was my really first go at it because I was so interested in just accepting music here from being like people who pitch songs. And I just always wanted to be a vehicle for really good songs, whether it doesn't matter if it's my song or not. That was just something that I really was passionate about. Well, when I experienced what I experienced, I realized nobody is going to be able to write my story the way I can. So I think it's time that this catapulted me into the songwriter seat so I could finally tell my own story.
Yeah. I was listening to Took Back.
Mm-hmm.
And man, that is a sad song. I mean, I get a lump in my throat, but boy, I can feel it.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, thank you. As in at least that means I did my job. Right. And I cried during the recording of it. So it's one of those things where it's been over a year now. I think it's going on 2, but it feels like it was yesterday.
Forever, for always, till death do us part. If it ain't working, we'll keep working, 'cause it's written in those stars. You made a promise you would always give the best of all the love you've ever had. So here's the thing, it ain't just a ring that you took back. So here's the thing, it ain't just a ring you took back.
Yeah.
And I just don't think and I'm in a new relationship now, but it's like I have to explain to him that that's going to be a part of me. Like that's a part of my story now for, as long as I move forward, because if it wasn't for him calling off the wedding, and now I see it obviously as a blessing, but that was the man I was choosing to marry. Like I didn't choose to break off the relationship. He did. So, and that's sometimes hard for a new person to hear that, I mean, I think it would probably be easy if the person just died or something, but that's not the case.
Right.
And so, I mean, I will say it really has changed me in the way that it's just shifted how I make decisions going forward, and how I chose to get into a new relationship and the boundaries I set and the things that I made kind of, about me and that I had never done before. And I think it made me a better person in a relationship. I think it made me a little tougher, which I think some people don't love that all the time, is I'm not necessarily as sensitive as I once was, because what it taught me was, and I know this sounds cynical, is that nothing's a guarantee. There's sometimes forever isn't forever. And I know that sounds pretty bitter and cynical, but I would rather kind of have that layer of armor on me in a sense, still be able to fall in love. I mean, I will always be that girl. I wear my heart on my sleeve, but just kind of knowing that things do happen, things fall apart, and the realistic side of things and not the fairy tale side of things that I always want to live in, because I'm a big Disney fan. So anything fairy tale, I'm like, yeah, I'm on board. But, life isn't always that type of fairy tale.
Well, kind of like Fool Me Once.
You ain't no good for me. I see it in your eyes. You're where I wanna be. You got me thinking, damn, I ain't nobody's fool. Don't break that rule, but I just might let you fool me once. Let you fool me once tonight. Yeah. Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
that song.
Thank you.
Song.
Thank
Yeah.
you so much. Yeah, I mean, gosh, I can't remember when I wrote all of these. I wrote them all pretty close after the breakup. So they really like one after the other. And we spent so much time on emphasis on songs like Took Back and I'm
Mhm.
Your Woman that
Mhm.
sometimes the other ones, so thank you for saying that, kind of take a back seat because they're not really the showcase ones on the project, but they are equally still, mean something to me and ones that I will forever cherish because these were my first, babies at being the ones that I co-wrote. So
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm Your Woman is a great tune as well. I
thank
mean,
you. It's
the
fun.
the EP is so great.
The fairy tale's what you make it. It's not that complicated. If you want someone to be true to you and never do you wrong, if you want someone you can hold on to for forever long, if you're someone that wants that kind of someone, I'm your woman. I'm your
It's
Thank
just so great.
you.
Did I read that you did the, speaking of the national anthem, kind of where you started, you did the national anthem at a NASCAR, right?
Yes, I've done it twice now at NASCAR, which is really cool, but very intimidating, by the way. I mean, the older we get, that song, it's like, don't mess up a lyric, don't mess up a lyric, because you can be just like, and when I was a kid, I said it like I could sing it no problem. I could almost sing it backwards. And now it's like there's so much weight in those lyrics that because they mean something different to me now, right? So
Right.
that I take it far more seriously, and it's just a lot, it's just intimidating now as an adult. But this last time I sang it at NASCAR was really cool because I believe, from what I remember, it was the very first live broadcasted version of the national anthem since COVID.
Oh, yeah.
So it was like, and then when I was told that, I go, that's even scarier, right? And so I think there were like, I don't know, 80,000 people there or something crazy of that amount at 90,000. And I go, here we go,
Yeah.
And when I sing that song, I'm the type of person that I don't get stage fright. I'm just not somebody that gets too nervous about a lot of things. But with that song, I do. So I really do kind of like to isolate myself for like a few minutes before I take the stage to do that song. And I don't know what it is because I'm a very talkative girl. I'm not shy. I don't like to seclude myself. But for that song, I do. And I remember for that performance specifically, there was a sweet man there, and I believe he was a pastor, and he was going to be giving a prayer before the national anthem, and he was going to be on stage with me, and we were getting on stage, and they were miking us up, and this is where I'm zoning in, right? And he's turning, and he's the sweetest man, and he's wanting to have full-blown, good old conversations with me, and I go, oh my gosh, and I was like, I can't tell you to stop talking to me. You're a preacher who's about to give a beautiful prayer. I have to talk to you. But it was really nice because I think it was actually a nice way for me to like really pay attention to what matters. And I was talking to him about something really nice, and it went off really well. But it's just one of those songs. There's a lot of weight in it, so I like to take
Yeah.
it pretty seriously.
Yeah. Well, and NASCAR people are very patriotic people.
Exactly. So you're also dealing with the audience specific of where you sing that song, and I know that as well. So you really, and my thing is with that song, I try not to do too much of a rendition on it.
Right.
I like to keep it pretty much straightforward, and I use the word basic, but just straight away. Don't try and do too many curls or spins on it. Just sing it the way people want to hear it. Because I think we've seen time and time again where someone's tried to jazz it up a little too much, and it 9 times out of 10 it doesn't go very well. So
Yeah.
I would rather not have to show it's already a hard song as it is to sing. So I would rather not try and show off with any vocal capability during that song and just sing it the way people intend to want to hear it and do your job.
Yeah. Not go viral for all the wrong reasons.
No. And some of those just like break my heart because I know how nerve-wracking that song is. And I know some of these people, there's a lot of nerves involved. And I just go, it breaks my heart because I don't think anyone ever goes into that intending to mess it up. I think everyone goes into it with a good heart. At least I would hope so. Right. And it's like, when that happens, I feel like I'm them, like I can feel what they're feeling. And I just like, I have to turn it off sometimes because I'm just like, you're making me feel like I'm the one that did that. I mean, I think I've hit one bad note before while singing that song, and I cringe. And the problem is when you're a singer, when you've done it, right?
Right.
You like in the middle of it, what's happening as you're doing it, and you're like, well, it's a getaway train. You have to keep going. There's no
Right.
stopping and starting over. It's you keep the show running.
Well, and a lot of times most people don't even catch it.
Yeah. And that's what's even beautiful is like sometimes when there's a little bit of a lyric mess up, or even there's just like a little note that's off. Like typically, I mean, not even talking to people who might not know how this song, you have to start decently low because it's a progression song that just gets higher and higher. Well, there's a lot of artists that cheat the system and they'll start in their sweet spot and then they find ways to drop the octave and stuff. And no one ever catches that. I mean, those are things that you have to be in the music business to really, or be a singer to really understand that. But I will say I try and do it as traditional as possible. So it's like, if you've started too high, the rocket's red glare is going off in a way that you're not so sure is going to take place.
Right. Wow. I'll never see somebody sing that song again the same way now that we've had this conversation.
There's actually a lot that goes into it. There's a lot that goes into that song that most people and it's all a cappella, right? You can't hide behind anything. You can't hide behind music or smoke and mirrors of any kind. It's just you're just standing out there pretty much naked, and it's either gonna go or it's not.
Right. Hey, you did a song with Jordan Fletcher called I Don't.
Yeah, that was so much fun. Oh my gosh, that's been years now, but that was a lot of fun. He's great.
It was a while back, but boy, I love that.
Yeah, I swear it's true, except for when I do. Thought of me and you, it's out of the blue, every other night or two. Yeah, I swear it's true, the boy, I'm doing fine almost all the time. I don't lose my mind, I don't miss you, I don't wish that I was with you, except for when I do. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Except for when I do. Ooh, ooh. Except for when I do. Except for when I do. Thank you. And he is such a great guy and such an incredible vocalist and writer. So I wasn't a writer on that song, but he was a co-writer on it, and it was pitched to us. And I said, well, why don't we just make this a duet with him? And I've never done a duet before. It was something that I really wanted to do. And it was before kind of a lot of his kind of rise to a lot of stuff. And I was like, this would be really fun. Let's do that. I've always wanted to do something it's fun to collaborate with people. You don't want to do it all the time, but when you get the opportunity to do it, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. On that same EP, Do Ya is on there, which is one of my favorite songs of yours. I was listening to that this morning. I just love that.
Thank you. It was fun. And what was the most fun about that wasn't even necessarily the song. It was the music video. I don't know if you got a chance to see the music video, but I always come up with these crazy thoughts in my head. And luckily my videographer, Robert Shavers, can like somehow bring it to life for me. And when I told him my idea for this, he goes, oh my gosh. So I kind of thought about, I don't know if you ever saw that music video of Ariana Grande, I don't know if it was Seven Rings. I don't know which one it was, but she replicates a bunch of rom-coms in like Mean Girls, 13 Going on 30. Yeah. Well, what I want to do is replicate 3 very iconic female country music videos. And I mean, down to the whole sets. And my videographer goes, we have to replicate these sets. And I go, listen, if we can't do it where it actually looks like the music video, I don't want to do this. So we'll scrap it and we'll find something else. And we were able to do it. He did it. We did Man, I Feel Like a Woman, Shania Twain, Taylor Swift song, Your Song, I believe. And then Faith Hill, The Way You Love Me. Yeah. And while she's in the diner. And I mean, it was the most fun music video I've ever filmed.
I was watching some of your stuff on YouTube, and I saw a Dan and Shay cover from the
Oh
ground
my
up.
gosh, yeah, that was a long time ago.
We'll build this love from the ground up. Worse or for better, and I will be all you need. Beside you, I'll stand through the good and the bad. We'll give all that we have, and we'll build this love. And we'll build this love. And we'll build this love from the ground up.
It was, but man, you nailed it.
Thank you. I think that was actually one of the first things I've ever done, actually, that I released online. I think maybe the first thing I ever did was a Justin Bieber mashup on YouTube that actually took off in weird place. And like, I think it was in Japan. And so it started to go viral like somewhere else. And I go, how crazy is that? And this is before I was really like seasoned in any kind of like, I've been singing forever, but really first goes at being in a studio, recording anything, doing anything. So I was really green when it came to any of this. And I was actually one of my best friends, she got married back when I did the Dan and Shay song, and she had me sing it live at her wedding as she walked down the aisle.
Wow.
Yeah, it was really
Yeah.
special.
Yeah, I love that. My favorite song by you is Spark.
Oh my gosh. Okay, you really did some good deep diving. Okay, so Spark was actually the very first song that was ever pitched to me since working in Nashville. So it was actually on a project before that project, and we scrapped that whole thing because I ended up working with a new producer, re-recorded everything. And when we went to go back in the studio, I said, with a new producer, I'd said, whatever we do, I have to keep Spark on there.
We were the spark that set the world on fire. Out of the dark, burning, burning brighter. We can't take our love back now. Come the sunrise, they'll be looking for you and me. Two hearts and a trail of gasoline. We can't save it now. So baby, let it burn down. Baby, let it burn. Baby, let it burn. We can't save it now. So baby, let it burn down.
And I said, it is one of my favorite. It's written by one of my favorite writers in town, Sarah Hayes. She wrote Riot for Rascal Flatts. I believe she's written a Keith Urban cut, a few other things. And she does a lot of my background vocals now for my recorded music, because now I'm so lucky enough to meet some of the people that inspire me the most in town, which is another cool thing about being in Nashville, is that these people that you've looked up to for a really long time now become people that you talk to and you're friends with. And that song is just amazing. There's an energy to that that it kind of gives me like Katy Perry Fireworks, but like a country version.
Yeah.
And when we did the music video for that, we released it around 4th of July, and we just turned it into basically me going into like an old school fireworks shop, and then me getting together with friends and we're lighting off fireworks. And that was also just so cool. I'm so glad you brought up Spark. It's one of my favorites. It will always be one of my favorites.
I love it, Tiffany. It's so great. Hey, tell me about your podcast. What's mine is yours.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. This is definitely a passion project, and it's turned into something really great. So originally, so first of all, this it's about, I'm interviewing songwriters in Nashville. That's basically the premise of the show, but it's really taken a life of its own. The original thought of it is way before podcasting became really popular. I had always had this idea to do this, but the idea was to interview songwriters that I've recorded their songs. And then I realized, and I thought it was going to be like a YouTube series. And then I realized, well, we would be done with it really quickly. Like, I don't record that often. And so then I'm so glad I sat on the idea for a few years and let it kind of develop before I decided to really go forward with it. And not to mention, I'm sure you know, because you do podcasting is a lot harder than people think. Organizing guests, editing episodes, doing filming, everything. It is just so much harder than people actually think. I think they think they sit down in front of a mic and it's just Oh yeah, and then they load it. No, 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 no.
Right,
And I
right.
think the statistic is like 6 or 8 episodes, and then people end up quitting because it's just overwhelming.
Yeah.
And it is. But I'm so, 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 so proud of this because, like I said, it really started with the idea of interviewing songwriters. And now I've really embellished on the idea of really just wanting to hand the songwriter the mic and asking them questions that not just about the songs they've written, because that's a tale as old as time. We hear that a lot. We hear them talk about their songs a lot, which I do want to incorporate that in. But
Right.
I talk about really hard discussions within the music industry, some things that are touchy topics to not want to talk about, kind of pulling the curtain back on a lot of things, because I think that's what an audience is interested in. They don't
Yeah.
want to just see the perfect package, it's all wrapped up, and they want to know the nitty-gritty behind it. I mean, people love gossip, right? I mean,
Right.
that's why people want to buy those magazines at a checkout stand about celebrities, whether it's true or not. This is what people like to hear. They like to be a part of the know, right? Like, oh, I got to know a secret. That's something that people like. So what's really cool is getting the perspective from a songwriter, because they're not the artist. They're not the one that has to be politically correct all of the time about everything they're saying. And that's what's fun, to sit down with them. And this show started in my living room, and now we've upgraded now because I have a producer and everything. And so we are now in a studio and where everything's filmed. My only downfall to that is, which I love because it's more professional, it keeps me more on track. The only thing that I don't like is that songwriters aren't used to being on camera all the time. So this is like
Right.
3 cameras, lights, and of course, you clam up a little bit. Me being an artist, that's normal. I'm an open book regardless. But when they were in my living room, they felt like they could just curl up on my couch and just kind of feel safe in a sense. They kind of felt
Right.
wrapped up like in a warm blanket, and they could talk about anything. Here, it feels a little bit more contrived. So that's my job, though. So how can I do better to make someone feel comfortable and safe in the environment they're in? So I never want to put the pressure on them where they have to feel a certain type of way. It's now I have to do my job, and I have to make them feel safe. It's a new talent that I actually love. I actually tell people all the time that I think I love podcasting just as much as being an artist.
Hey, so what's next for you? What's on the horizon?
Well, definitely more of the podcast. Speaking of the podcast, I think that we're just now starting to pre-record for season 3. So we wrapped season 2, now we're on to season 3. And I think we're now looking for like sponsorships and all those things to kind of really round out the show. So I'm very excited for what's to come for that. I'm getting back in the studio this month. So
Wow.
I will be doing more music. I'm really excited about that because I'm kind of wrapping up the untold parts of the story that I didn't share in I'm Your Woman, and I think it's going to get a little bit more personal, which I think is great. But not necessarily the anger or the heartbreak part of it. It's on the other side. It's the healing part.
Yeah.
Because I don't really think I did a lot of that in I'm Your Woman. I think there was a little bit more just directed to what I wanted to talk about. And now I really want to focus on the me part.
Yeah.
And that's what I think you're going to see more of me in my music, is just a little bit more of the healing side of things and less about the vindictiveness or anger or even heartbreak. I think but other than that, I really hope I'm going to be performing more. I say this in almost every interview when someone says, what's on the horizon? And now that I'm a writer, I'm really glad that I get to go do a lot of writers rounds, which is a lot of fun. But I want to somehow try and get back into what I know I do best, which is a live show gig, like full band, me able to be on a stage, move around, not be kind of seated behind a guitar, kind of feeling very trapped in a sense. I love being able to move around. So I would love to find more opportunities where I can actually really do what I think I do best, which is perform.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of what's going on right now. I mean, podcasting really does take up the majority of my time now. Yeah.
Hey, I promised Heather 30 minutes tops, and we're right there. But man,
Okay.
I'm so glad we got a chance to
Me
get
too.
together. And let's do this again when you have new stuff coming out, and just
I would
kind of
love
keep in
to.
touch. Yeah.
Yeah, I would absolutely love that. I know Took Back is actually going to radio soon. It was right after American Dreamer. We were which American Dreamer, I still think has a life no matter where you put it at any time. So that's what's the beauty of that song, is that it doesn't necessarily fit into all country formats. But it works just nationally anyway, no matter what. So I'm
Yeah.
sure we'll see it pop up from time and time again. But Took Back actually goes to radio next. So I'm really excited about pursuing that.
I think it's going to do great. It's, a lot of people can relate to that. and they can feel it, and they feel you. I could feel your emotions in that recording, and it's so
Thank
beautiful,
you.
Tiffany.
Thank
So
you.
beautiful.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. And yes, I would love to be on anytime.
Yeah. Okay. I'll keep in touch with Heather,
Yeah.
and we'll do it again.
Thank you so much.
All right. Have a great day. Okay.
You too.
All right. See you
Happy
later.
holidays.
Same to you.
For questions or comments, email Steve at steveryan.songoftheday@gmail.com.